Hi, everyone, and thank you so much for joining us today. This should be an exciting one because today's webinar is all about the future, and more specifically, how AP teams can survive and thrive through whatever comes next. It's accounts payable in a changing landscape. It won't have escaped your attention, but we've seen a lot of change in the past few years. Many factors have changed the way businesses operate, from a fluctuating financial landscape to emerging technologies and more. But none have been quite so transformative as the pandemic. Unfortunately, many businesses didn't survive the turmoil inflicted by COVID-19. The end of 2020 saw US corporate bankruptcies hit a 10-year high as the global health crisis impacted the way we worked, lived, and spent our money. For the companies that did survive, the working world changed forever. Gone are the days of workplace martyrdom, where employees were expected to drag themselves into the office with colds or other bugs rather than miss a day of productivity. As a result, many companies have modified their sick leave policies to reflect the times we live in. There's one last legacy of the pandemic I'd like to talk about before we move on, and it's this. COVID-19 showed us that sometimes the worst case scenario can and does happen. I don't mean that to scare monger, but to help inform our strategies as we look to the future-proof the accounts payable function. The level of change and disruption brought about by the pandemic in such a short space of time may have felt unprecedented. But if we're serious about future-proofing AP, then we need to be ready to ride out similar crises again, whether they're social, political, financial, or environmental. The desire for hybrid work reflect changing attitudes among employees, and so does an increase in resignations and career changes. It won't have escaped your attention that we're currently in the thick of an accounting talent shortage, with the US Bureau of Labor Statistics expecting over 136,000 vacant accounting jobs between now and 2031. Student enrollment numbers have slowed, while the Great Resignation and quiet quitting have driven many accountants to leave their jobs, more than 300,000 in the US alone, over the past 2 years, according to the Society of Human Resource Management. The result is that AP teams are expected to do more with less, and they're putting in longer hours to get it done. According to Accounts Daily, 20% of professional services employers now expect their teams to put in more overtime. These statistics underpin why it's so important to future-proof. The economic uncertainty means that organizations' budgets remain constricted, so you can bet the headcount won't be growing as fast as needed in light of these changes. That means that AP teams need to be able to manage increased workload, which has the potential to increase further as the economy remains rocky. Of course, the solution to this is technology. We'll talk about more of that in a moment. Next, we're going to discuss the role of technology in helping us prepare for change, but also as an agent of change in its own right. When we talk about technology in 2023, it's usually a short jump to artificial intelligence. AI is set up to become a key distributor in many industries, not least accounts payable, and the most persistent concern is that technology will ultimately replace us. But AP teams need to spend less time worrying about the artificial intelligence will steal their jobs and more time considering how they can harness the technology to make their AP processes more accurate, efficient, secure, and repeatable. This quote from Accounting Today shows the big four accounting firms like KPMG see AI as a tool to support their human accountants, and in fact shoulder the burden of some of the time-consuming manual processes that make accounts payable occasionally unsatisfying. Think of the future-proof accounts payable function as an AI enhancement, not an AI replacement. Artificial intelligence isn't some futuristic technology to keep on your radar for a decade from now. It's impacting the AP function today. The current real-world applications of AI in accounts payable include invoice automation, which is capable of automatically extracting invoice data, entering it in an accounting system, and matching invoices with purchase orders and receipts. Fraud detection, which uses AI to identify anomalies among normal processes, patterns, and behaviors. Data analytics, where AI-powered systems extract valuable insights from financial data. Expense management, where AI is used to detect expense abuse and fraud while automating the entire process. payment status, which uses machine learning and data analytics to track the status of your payments in real time. And generating financial reports using generative AI tools similar to ChatGPT and Midjourney to create financial documentation. So we all know change is coming, and by future-proofing the AP function, we're actively courting change. But incorporating new processes and workflows can be a little scary and sometimes expose us to new threats and vulnerabilities. This new section is all about becoming change resilient in the new world of work. In the future-proof AP function, businesses will need an accounting architecture that's robust enough to maintain data security compliance, but be flexible enough to adapt to new workflows and even new currencies, as and when they emerge. You know how I mentioned that trends and technologies might exacerbate these vulnerabilities? Well, consider this quote from Bank of America. The move to remote and hybrid work will expose businesses and their employees to additional risk, but a future-proof finance function must be a hybrid first, so we need to help equip our remote workers with the right tools and technologies to stay safe while working from home. The trends and technological developments we discussed in the previous two slides will inevitably impact the way we work. And unfortunately, one of those areas where we anticipate the most change is data security and compliance. All businesses everywhere handling more information than ever before. In terms of big data, we're wrecking the curve, and it would be naive to think it's going to change anytime soon. And so a truly future-proof AP function needs to be prepared to process and store unprecedented amounts of employee, vendor, and supplier data, and to ensure the data stays safe at all times. Other rapidly consolidating trends and technologies like decentralized finance, blockchain, cryptocurrency will pose unavoidable compliance challenges as the ways in which we conduct businesses and even pay our supplier changes forever. And there's another factor to consider. Unfortunately, cyber criminals don't rest on their laurels. They're developing new tools and new techniques all the time. And they're the first to exploit the vulnerabilities of new technologies as soon as they emerge. Businesses can't stand still because standing still means being left behind. Vendor relationship management is a key responsibility of the accounts payable department, although not one we always relish. Future-proof finance function, in our eyes, is one that can maintain strong vendor relationships regardless of what else is happening in the business or in the world at large. As this quote from Intuit QuickBooks puts, factors outside of your control are easier to overcome if you have a fruitful working relationship to begin with. That can only happen when AP teams have sufficient time in their day to focus on value-added activities like vendor relationship management. You're spending all day chasing approvals or entering invoice data, your vendor relationships will inevitably suffer. Okay, so it's time for our final topic of today's webinar, the shift to strategic finance. Strategic finance has become a bit of a buzzword in recent years, but it's more than just talk. A recent survey from PwC found that increasing the business importance of the finance department was top priority for CFOs. And that's what the term strategic finance refers to. Moving finance functions like accounts payable away from the back of office and closer to the C-suite. Instead of just keeping the lights on, AP departments can help increase profitability and meet business objectives. Strategic finance is nothing new or revolutionary. As accountants, you've been trained to analyze financial information and offer detailed analysis and insight. That strategic component is what separates accountants from bookkeepers. But the reality of accounts payable is that the day-to-day often prevents accountants from focusing on what they're really good at. According to a Quadient survey, the two most traditionally time-consuming areas of AP, one being manual data entry, the other managing approvals, occupy roughly 57 to 20% of an AP professional's day, respectively. In a 40-hour work week, that leaves a little over 9 hours to perform other essential AP tasks like expenses, expense management, purchase order matching, let alone providing strategic support to the business. However, our same customer survey found that the average AP automation customer has reduced the time spent on accounts payable by almost half, providing the hours they need to focus on more value-added activities. Strategic finance is about aligning the finance function with the company's vision and goals. But what might that look like for accounts payable? Of course, much will depend on your organization's individual goals and targets. But broadly speaking, accounts payable can support businesses' strategy through, improved resource allocation, revenue growth, cost savings, and improved efficiencies, and much more. And if those examples seem a little obvious, consider how the AP function might help a business improve its sustainability and environmental impact by going paperless and pivoting to a remote hybrid workforce. Consider how more accurate financial reporting could empower an organization to become more transparent and improve its public relations. And imagine how strategic AP function might analyze financial data to make proactive recommendations to the CEO and board of directors. How to optimize headcount, where to invest and where to cut back, how to maximize company resources, and more. A strategic AP function does far more than simply pay the bills on time. So strategic AP helps meet business objectives and supports company growth. But if we're being honest with ourselves, does the average AP clerk really care about that? Well, in the age of the great resignation and quiet quitting, employee satisfaction and engagement is everything. Strategic finance elevates the AP function to a positive or a position of greater visibility and importance to the business. AP teams will spend less time on tedious, low value tasks like manual data entry and more time on fulfilling activities with a tangible impact on the business. AP accountants will be empowered to do what they do best. They'll feel more valued and they'll be more valued, empowering them to command higher salaries and more senior roles. In the future-proofed AP function, the shift to strategic benefits all parties.